All right. What's up, everybody? I am back with a very special guest this week. I'm here with a good buddy of mine, TKap, Tommy Kaplan. I'm super excited to talk to you. I know we were just going to chat a little bit before we got on air, but I said to you, I like just jumping right on to the call and just getting everything out that we would beforehand, maybe on air right now. So I want to sort of give a little background about you because I've always thought you've been super interesting. I think you have a real interesting story for someone at such a young age. And you're currently coming live from Brazil, I think. So if you sort of just want to give people a little introduction about yourself, and just say, I don't know, anything you feel comes to mind.
Sure. So I think you found me interesting because of the whole poker thing.
Well, no, there's other things. That's not the only thing that interests me towards you.
So I played professional poker. I went to Binghamton in upstate New York. I was playing professional poker online mostly while I was there. When I graduated, I moved to Las Vegas.
Hold on. Let's not get into everything. Let's not shoot our load right off the bat. All right.
Yeah. No, I'm so sorry.
So what? Let's take it a step back, and it's not just the poker, which we'll get into, which interests me about you. Something that has always interested me about you is sort of been your demeanor. I think you're a very interesting person, and it's been your demeanor, and I think you have
good sir.
You have a very interesting personality that always sort of I could never really figure out, and whether it was very dry, but also you'd find humor in the weirdest things. So I'm curious how you would describe your personality. How would you say you are? What's your personality?
That's a tough question.
That's what we're here, bro. We're hitting hard questions here.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of quiet initially, and then usually when I get to know people, I open up a little bit more.
So
I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it.
Well, I sent you a list of questions beforehand, which I usually don't do, so it doesn't look like you did any fucking homework.
I told you I didn't like the last questions.
No, I'll sort of give you an analysis of what I think. And I've only met your parents a couple times. But from when I met your parents, seeing how you are, your mom, I think she ran a daycare or something like that, so she was very probably great with children, like a welcoming lady. I don't really know too much about your mom. But your father was almost in a sense like you. He was very, very dry, but then randomly he'd throw out a joke or say a witty comment and not even look for a laugh or something like that. Is that a right read on your father?
I don't know. He's my father's an interesting guy. I think he's a little bit on the autism spectrum, actually.
Which I would sort of say you are too, without being disrespectful to people with autism.
That could be, but it would be to a much less extent than my father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what is it with? I don't know if you think I'm a funny person or not, but what type of things make you laugh? Because like I said earlier, we'd all be hanging out, and I'd maybe say a joke which I thought was funny, and everyone would laugh in that moment, and then it'd be 4 minutes later. Any what?
Do any examples come to mind? Because I do remember there being some funny running jokes that we had that would just that would be reoccurring.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but the only things that I could think of is we'd be all sitting around, I'd tell a joke, everyone would laugh, and then it'd be 4 or 5 minutes later, and then you would just look at me with this look, it would be you'd squint your eyes, you'd look at me, and then you'd laugh really hard again, and I would be like, Tommy, that joke was 5 minutes ago, and it wasn't even really that funny.
Huh.
I don't know. You can't remember.
You're an interesting guy yourself. Your jokes are very idiosyncratic.
Thank
very
you.
Particular to you.
Appreciate that. I take great pride in my jokes.
Yeah.
So there's
You're
no.
funny. You're funny.
There's nothing that you can think like what TV shows do you enjoy? Do you watch any comedy shows, or is it all just like serious stuff, or like what are you watching?
Usually a mix. What I got into recently in terms of comedy was have you seen Rick and Morty?
Is that with the Robin Williams, like old school? Oh no, Rick and Morty's a cartoon, like, right?
Yeah, it's the cartoon.
Okay. I haven't gotten into that, but I heard it's pretty like creative with their humor.
Yeah, I like that humor. I don't know. It's hard for me to. I haven't really thought about how I would classify my humor other than dry, I guess.
But you want something that makes you think, right? I mean, like you don't want just like a basic joke.
No, I don't like cheap laughs. Like I don't like someone falling, for example, is not funny to me.
Yeah.
Like something has to be like well thought out and I guess intelligent.
Yeah. No, and that's something that is why I sort of respect you as a person, because me, when I hear a joke, like if it's a fart joke, I'm going to laugh. If it's something stupid, I'm just going to laugh. But I feel like with you,
farts are funny.
No, but with you, I feel like it's more you're very like intellectual about how you think about things. And it's like, is that always how you've been? Like even as a kid, like you've always, if someone tells you something, you're not just going to say yes or no right away. Like it takes you a while to process it, think about it, and then you give your answer.
Yeah. So I guess it kind of goes back into my personality. Is I usually like think before I say something.
Yeah. Which is a good characteristic
good,
to have.
It's good. It's good and it's bad, right?
Well, I mean, how is it bad? I look at it as like you take your time before reacting, but then also I used to look at you and I would be like, Tommy, like just give me an answer, or like tell me. And you like, do people get frustrated with you because you do take so long to answer a damn question?
I don't know. Maybe I've gotten better in the. I mean, it's been a while since we were like hanging out every day.
Yeah.
It's probably like 13, 14 years. Wow, we're old now that I say that.
I know. What now that you say that we haven't, like, I mean, like, I consider you a good friend. I like the fact that I could text you, I feel like at any point. I saw you were in Chicago and I felt like I was in a good enough relationship with you where I could text you and be like, yo, Tommy, what's the deal? Like, can we get a drink or something like that? What do you think constitutes like a good friend? Like, what do you think of, like, what's a friendship to you? Because I know in high school you had some really close friends, a lot that we played cards with. I'm sure maybe you keep in touch with some of them. Like, am I a good friend? What do you consider a good friend? Is it's like, what's friendship to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess me and you, we haven't. I guess like after college, we didn't keep in contact like that frequently, other than like maybe every like 6 months or something. Mm-hmm. But I think why I would consider you a good friend still is because during that like 2 years when we were like in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, we were like hanging out like almost every day for a while. So yeah, I feel like we would always have like that connection.
Yeah, I thought it was...
I'm glad.
Sorry, keep going.
I'm glad that you that I'm still a good friend and that I'm someone you could reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I always felt like we had a good relationship friends wise when we were in high school, and then like I really appreciated, and this is something I'm starting to appreciate more. Not like I'm on some like higher level or whatever like that, but like I said this when I had a chat with my cousin when he came to Chicago. He reached out to me and we got a drink and we just spoke. And similar to you, I saw you were in Chicago and you made time to, you know, get a drink with me, and we sat at the bar for, I don't know, 2 hours or something like that, and we just spoke about what was going on in your life, what was going on in my life. And that's something that I don't know if people are really doing that anymore. Like, people get caught up in their lives. But I always see that you're traveling. When you travel, do you make it a point to meet up with people that you've met over the years, or is it sort of just like I'm gonna go see what I want to see and enjoy the country for what it is?
Yeah, well, when I am going to someplace, I do like to like see the people that I know in that city. Especially the case with you, that we were really close friends in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But no, with regards to traveling, I just I think I've been trying to see places that I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
Although the past year and a half, that hasn't been true.
What? Why? You've been going to the same places, or you just haven't been traveling as much?
Yeah, the last year and a half, I've mostly just been coming to Brazil.
What is it about Brazil that?
Well, I came here when I broke up with I had come here with a friend a few years ago, and it's just like an awesome party city.
Yeah.
It's a great place for a single guy to be.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people know that Brazilian women are ridiculous.
Yeah. Actually, so last month I started dating Brazilian girl, and she's probably going to be walking in any minute, but I told her she should be quiet. She doesn't really speak English. So
okay.
I can still.
So how's that communication barrier? Do you speak Portuguese?
Yeah, I came here a couple months ago, and I didn't really have so I'm not I don't know if I told you this, but I'm going to start an MBA program in July.
I think you maybe mentioned going for it.
So the last 3 or 4 months, no, really 3 months I haven't been working. So I came here just because I really liked, besides the women, Brazilian culture is really awesome.
Yep.
And also the dollar is really strong. So my quality of life here right now is super high compared to, I was living in New York City there. So to here I go out and eat at the best restaurants, every night pretty much, and still spend a fraction of what I'd be spending in New York City.
Yeah, definitely.
And not having as cool experiences.
I've always said that, and I've been to Colombia, in South America. Obviously, Dominican Republic is not in South America, but it's sort of that same flavor of that culture of just Hispanic people just having fun. It's just almost in such a poor country, they find so much happiness and enjoyment for life that it's almost just contagious.
No, absolutely. It's there's a warmth to a lot of the Brazilian people.
Yeah.
And living in New York City especially, I feel it's with a lot of high achieving people, and they're always stressed out trying to get a better job or get a promotion. They're working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
And most of them, I feel most of the people in that situation, if they're in it for a long enough time, they end up kind of miserable. And you get kind of caught up in the thinking oh, I need to, have this kind of success before I can be happy. And then when you come here, it's just kind of an alternate reality where it's oh, you don't actually need all that stuff to be happy. And once you have your bare minimum requirements met, then it's more a question of attitude.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it just are
well, it puts things in it puts things in perspective too, because you see probably the poorest of the poor in Brazil or other countries you've traveled to. No, I'm sure you have. There's got to be really poor people over there.
No, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Whereas not to knock New York City homeless people or poor people in New York City, but it's just they still and I don't want to shit on poor people too much, but homeless people in New York City is they'll still have a winter coat and maybe some Timbs on or something like that.
Actually, I've been reading about it recently. I got kind of interested in it because the girl I'm dating, she was she said basically the poor people if you're poor in the United States, you're middle class in Brazil.
Yeah.
So they you have access to housing, you have access to food. And recently I looked up in New York City, it's actually the city is like required to provide housing to people.
I believe
I think most of the homeless, yeah, they're what they have to like be out of the house from a certain time, from 9 to 5 or whatever, and then I think well, a lot of it's kind of complicated. It's a lot of people with mental illness and whatnot, but
yeah, I'm sure it's a deeper, much bigger problem than just being homeless. I'm sure there's drugs involved or something else that's messing homeless people up. But I think us as a country, and that's why people like want to come to the United States of America. And like as bad as Trump is, I still think we have a lot of policies in place to help homeless people, to help people who don't have health insurance. Like there's a lot of like opportunities for poor people, whether it's like welfare or whatever the case may be, for them to better their lives. Whether or not people take advantage of it is on them. Whereas other countries like Brazil, Dominican Republic, Haiti, or somewhere like that, it's like these kids have like no opportunities, and like they can't reach out to the government and get like free money or like free food. It's basically going up to white people like you and just being like, hey man, you're in my country, can you give me some money? And like you feel guilty, you feel bad, so you help out sometimes,
Right. Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. Like just living in the United States, and I'm sure you've experienced this also when you've traveled to, I guess, developing countries, is like the level of poverty is just on a different level.
Yeah.
So when you like think about people are complaining in the United States, I mean, there's a reason why like, most of the people in these developing countries like go through hell to come to the United States and are willing to. You have like, well, for example, I remember my mom had hired a cleaning lady, and she was a doctor in her country in Uruguay, and like to be able to come to the States and like earn like $18 an hour cleaning houses is like a better life for her than being a doctor in her country where there's like all kinds of political turmoil and going on. But it's also crazy. I don't know if you've there's the whole crisis in Venezuela coming, and that's going on now. It's on like a whole other level right now. All the Venezuelans are like trying to into Colombia or Argentina or or Chile, some other South American city.
Yeah.
You really like feel appreciative that you're born in the United States.
Definitely. I mean, and it's like like I said before, as bad as Trump is and as bad as like and corrupt as our government is, and we're in a bad spot with Trump, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel or whatnot, but like,
yeah, I would agree.
Okay. When you go to other countries and you talk to, people who live there, they'll tell you stories about their government, and it's just so more accepted that you don't hear about it as much, just because like every other country's doing. Like you don't hear about it until it turns into a Venezuela, when everyone there is trying to find the guy who runs the country, and like there's riots in the street and stuff like that. That's when it becomes a news story.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the problem with a lot of these countries is that, and besides just being overall like more not having the same like GDP and standard of living, is the wealth disparity between the richest 1 or 10% and everyone else is very high here.
Definitely.
I mean, I think it's getting worse in the United States, but it's still it's not quite on the same level that you find in developing countries, where it's just kind of like the people who are in power are very corrupt, and they use their power to get like business contracts and enrich themselves.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I guess in Brazil it's not. It's like a little bit more complicated, but there was a lot of corruption. I mean, basically Brazil's still in a depression that was in large caused by corruption from the left.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a lot of that during the World Cup. That was like the biggest thing. It was like all these crazy stories that were coming out when they were building the stadiums of just like all this corruption and like people dying to build the stadiums, and now they're like deserted because they spent so much money, and like they showed a lot of their cards when they try to get the World Cup, which they successfully did, but then it also put the country in shambles as well.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's good to be an American traveling here now because it's cheap. But
well, that's what I want to ask you too. What's the what perception do you get? How are you perceived by people in Brazil being an American? I mean, like Brazilians you could almost like you're starting to look Brazilian more and more as you keep talking, just because I'm sort of like you're telling me that you live there and stuff. But like, do people like obviously when you speak, you probably don't speak as fluent as like other Brazilians, but like. Have you ever been called out for being American?
I don't think. Well, what's good about Brazil for Americans is like kind of similar to the Philippines when I went. Also, it's like they're very happy to have you as an American.
Okay.
They're friendly. They're very friendly to they're very friendly in general, but they're especially like friendly to foreigners. Like a lot of them will go out of their way to help you. If you go to like Europe or something, you definitely don't get that same kind of reception that you get here.
What do you think that is?
I mean, I think in a large part of it is like a lot of them grew up with like American, like listening to American music or watching like American movies. They have like this idea that like America is like a really cool place to be, and a lot of them want to practice. A lot of them studied English in school, and they want to practice. And I mean, just in general, they're like more warm than.
Do you think it's that, or
especially
do you
like
think,
people from New York?
Do you think it could? And this is my thinking, but I don't know at all. But do you think there's more of a need for like American money in those countries, and that's why they're potentially nicer to Americans, whereas in Europe it's like, hey, we're doing fine without you fuckers, get out of here?
Yeah, no, I mean that's just something I was thinking that I'm not going to say explicitly. I think I mean there is that to give you like a comparison. I think if you make like $100,000 here a year, you're in like the 1%.
Oh yeah,
whereas
I could see that.
Yeah, making $100,000 in the States, you're kind of like middle class. But I think I do. I mean, I'm not. There's probably an element of them being like, oh, he's American, he has money, I'm gonna be nice to him. Maybe I want something out of it. So I that's probably like a part of it, depending on the person. But I do genuinely think that a larger part of it is just that they're like very friendly. It's part of the culture, and it's like easy. I can meet like a friend through. I have like a couple Brazilian friends here, and I can like meet a friend of theirs that like knows nothing about me, and also is like already from is not like in need of money. They're from like I guess high socioeconomic classes, and like you just meet them. They're like, oh, like I'm going to a party, like come with me. And whereas in the United States, like really doesn't happen where like you can just meet someone like in the same day, like become like good friends with, not like good friends, but like have them like take you around,
Yeah, no, 100%. And now on the flip side of that, like you said earlier, very like thoughtful of when somebody asks you of something. Do you ever feel, and here's my point, I find Dominicans, and I find I don't know if this is stereotyping or not, but it's a compliment. I find them very savvy, and they're very smart in how they're persuasive, and potentially if they want something. Do you ever feel like you've been taken advantage of or unsafe of someone inviting you to a party that you don't know where you're going because you don't know the person? Like, how's that? And there's your girlfriend.
I mean, Andrea, say hi.
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 You're on with about maybe like 240 people will watch this.
Sorry, I don't speak English.
Okay, good, perfect. Get out of here then.
Yeah.
Go on.
So have you ever felt like you've been like taken advantage of or something like that as an American?
No, I mean I think it's like maybe I'm good at. I think it's easy to be able to tell. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind. Well, first of all, I feel like most people will be like, you need to be careful.
Yeah.
The only thing that comes to mind is I was in an Uber, and he like took a really bad route that like tripled the price.
Yeah.
But I think things like that are like pretty common to any tourist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I would say that when I went to Rio 2 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and it was during Carnival.
Okay.
And there, I did feel like it was pretty dangerous. Basically, there was like a lot of the people from the favelas come and they steal cell phones from people. So like if you have your cell phone out, they'll like run by and steal it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that regard, but like right now I'm staying in Sao Paulo and I'm staying in kind of like an affluent area. So in terms of like day to day walking around, it's not unsafe at all. But if I were to go to like some of the, poorer areas, I would probably be like a target.
Yeah. I mean, but it's so funny because it's like I keep going back to the World Cup and like, even from what I hear on the news, it's just like my sister was in Brazil and like, I think she felt safe, but then also said to your point, like if you go to the wrong spot, it's unsafe. But like, I feel like they make it sound a lot worse than what you're making it out to be, and hopefully it isn't like what I hear on the news, which is like almost why people don't trust the news, is because it's just like it's not accurate.
No, I mean, I would say I've pretty much avoided all those, like any area that someone said is like not like safe, like I don't go to.
Okay. Okay.
So I can't really and so I can't really say like how like unsafe those areas are. Obviously, I'm not like I'm a pretty big guy. I'm not going to be like the first. Really, what they're trying to steal is like money. So I'm not like the best target.
Yeah.
If I was like a 5 foot, 5 foot female who like had a bunch of expensive jewelry, then
or
like
or something.
Yeah, but I don't wear any jewelry, and I'm not like taking my phone out. And when the times I do go to those areas, I'm not like taking my phone out and like researching stuff by myself,
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right. Well, that's interesting in Brazil. And I think I'm going to take it 40 steps back now to our high school days. But I think you are in a position.
Let's reminisce.
Well, yeah, we're going to go down memory lane. But I like my transitions. I take pride in my transitions. So here's my transition here. I think you're in a position to be comfortable enough to go to Brazil and live there because of a good foundation of money that you've worked very hard for. No, I wouldn't shake your head. I mean, like you were very successful at what you did, but let's take it back to high school days and start before a big event even happened where you won a lot of money. But we used to play in a poker crew with, it was a whole bunch of us. Like Vinny just texted me. I'm trying to get him on a podcast, but he keeps flaking. But it was like
really?
Vinny, it was Kyle. So what we used to do is we had a friend, Tom, who lived right, like around our high school was this circle, and there were houses around the circle, and he had a house there. And this was during the poker boom era of like Chris Moneymaker and like Phil Hellmuth and all these guys. And he had a poker table in his basement right practically at our high school. It was almost like an extension of the high school. And I think from that poker era that blew up when we were in high school, which was probably around 2005, 2006, we started playing tournaments there, cash games. And then from that, how did we get introduced to the poker club? Do you remember?
Huh. No, I don't actually.
I'm trying to think back.
It was maybe like, I think it was probably like, remember how Tom would kind of like recruit people from the high school?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To like play in the tournaments?
Yeah.
I think maybe, I could be wrong, but maybe he like brought someone to the game that, oh, do you remember a kid, Will?
Yeah. Mexican?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it was through him.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it was through like someone that he like brought that like knew about it.
Yeah. So we were in 11th and 12th grade, and would you say was it the ESPN World Series of Poker that really put that poker Texas Hold'em on our radar? Because you weren't playing it before then, right? I mean, like you weren't playing cards in 9th, 10th grade.
No. I think that was probably it. To be honest, I think at least initially I was just kind of like when I started, like it wasn't really my idea at all to play. It was just kind of like it was like Tom's like, yeah, it was like Tom's like, I'm getting a poker game going, and I was like, cool, like that would be. It was more like a social event. Like you guys were my friends, and you guys were like, oh, we're playing, and I'm like, okay, I guess I should like learn so that I'm not just like spewing money.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I think I learned it sort of on the fly, whereas I think with you, did you ever do? So one, let's take a step back. So from Tom's house, we used to go to this poker club where there was like old Italian men, and me and Kyle have spoken about this on the Kyle and Corin podcast. But there was like old like mafia guys that ran the place, and they would lend you money, and there would be a waitress that would give you drinks and food, and like we were betting legit money, like it was hundreds of dollars, and potentially we would leave with thousands of dollars, and like we would stay there all night and go from the club to high school and then maybe back to the club that night. Why do you think we were so? Well, I'll ask you in general. Why were you so connected to like the poker club and the poker world? Was it money that we were driven to? Because that's probably what it was for me.
I think you're. I don't really see. Can you still see me on video?
Yeah. It's going in and out, but I still got you.
Okay.
Did you hear the question?
What was it? Yeah. I think it was probably like a combination of money and like social, maybe like social acceptance and like something to do.
I think it was something to do also.
It was fun. You know, I like. I always liked strategy games.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you I like played chess competitively when I was like 11 and 12.
I didn't know that, but now that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was like Hold'em was like the perfect like storm for you to continue your like strategy numbers game with now like a new challenge for you.
Yeah, no, at the time I definitely I enjoyed learning it, and like that and the combination of being able to win a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think initially I was just doing it like as like a social activity, and then I was like, oh, like you can actually earn a lot of money doing this.
Yeah, and that's something that so here's where I think you separated from someone like Kyle, myself. Vinny just had no luck, but because he was very smart and like he knew the game really well, and I don't know why I don't know if it was he win and gamble his money back, and you would win and potentially be smart about it. But there was one particular night, and the club had this thing called a bad beat, which you could probably explain a little bit better than I could. But I'll do my best, and then if you want to correct me afterwards, go for it, if that's cool, or do you want to explain it?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so from my perspective, from what I remember, each night the club would take money from the pot that you're betting. Each hand, whatever, the whole night, there would be like a culmination of money being collected, and it would go towards this bad beat pot. And the bad beat pot was two of like the hardest hands in poker to get. It was like a straight flush or a royal flush had to lose to like 4 of a kind or better or something?
Yeah, I think it was actually like you had to lose with aces full of jacks.
Okay, it was like 2 people had to have the most ridiculous hands in poker to potentially get this money that's being collected for so long. And until that happens, they're going to keep collecting money, keep collecting money. So
right.
We would go practically every night between the club in Yonkers and a club in New Rochelle, and this bad beat pot would keep collecting. And it almost became like no one's going to hit it, or if they do, we're going to be there when it happens. So from what I remember, you were a pizza delivery kid in high school like anybody else was. You were at Deanna's, was it? Or was it the one down on North Ave? A number 1,
it
maybe?
was the one on North Ave. Maybe I did Deanna's also for a little bit.
Yeah.
But mostly it was the one on the Iona, A number 1.
Yeah, A number 1. Yep.
Yeah.
So for whatever the reason was, there was one night where we would always text each other. It would be like, hey, Tommy, I'm going to the club, or Kyle, I'm going to the club, and we'd go together. This night, and this is, I don't know if this is a rumor or you can accurately say this is true or not, and we'll hold you to this. You did not text us, and you went to the club that night, and you ended up hitting the bad beat. And now I'll let you take the story from here about how much money you won and what you remember from hitting the bad beat, and if you texted us or not.
Yeah, actually, I can't really say. I don't remember the part of the story whether or not I texted you. Okay. But now that you mentioned it, it does sound vaguely familiar. Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically, I think by that point I had already been winning online, and I had I had won like a decent amount of money.
Have you though? Because I want to not to say you're lying, but I feel like I don't know if you were that successful online prior to hitting the bad beat.
No, I think to give you some numbers, I think maybe like over the course of a few months, I had won like 20 between like 20 and 30,000.
Oh shit! So okay, so I thought the bad beat was sort of what put you on the radar.
I think what happened with the bad, I think the bad beat was like 11 or 12,000 or something.
Which to me, a kid, and I didn't know about the 20 or 30,000 beforehand online, but to me, to win $12,000 when you're in 12th grade is is ridiculous. It's like hitting the lotto. It's like I'd go like I don't know what I would do. I would buy like a go-kart or some shit.
Yeah, I think at the time I think it did give me like a little bit more of a like willingness to gamble, mm-hmm. because I was like, oh, basically I got this like, $11,000 for free. I'm going to use it to like play in some more difficult games, whereas I might have been like more stagnant had I not won that. Maybe I don't. So, I can't say that it didn't help and help me to like play higher stake games more confidently without caring as much about how much I would lose.
Yeah, and with all due respect, I think it happened to the perfect person, because I don't think if it happened to me, I probably would have at 12th grade, I would have probably blown half of that money on I don't know what. Like I would have taken a trip with my brother to like Dominican Republic or something like that. I think
dudes and booze.
It's so crazy, yeah. But like I think it's so crazy that everything happens to the people that like it's supposed to happen to. Like that bad beat was supposed to happen to you for you to, go on, like to continue to go on in Texas Hold'em and like to develop your learning that way. Whereas like I needed to learn to stop being just a fucking degenerate and lose my money potentially. And like now where I'm at, not gamble anymore. I'll play blackjack and stuff, but I'll go to the casino with Kyle and like he's like, let's play Hold'em. And it's just like, I just want to stay away from that stuff now because it's not for me. I feel like it never really was for me. Whereas I feel like that was for you, whether it was to learn, whether you still play, but it was a good opportunity for you at that time. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, no, it definitely helped. To give the listeners a background, like winning the bad beat is like a purely luck occurrence. So it definitely helped.
But do you think it was luck because you played a hand that I wouldn't have played, that a lot of people wouldn't have played? Like there's more. I feel like there was more to luck in it. You had to put yourself in that position.
No, I don't. I think it was just purely luck. I think when I won, I wasn't even like, oh, let me play this hand for the bad beat, you know?
Yeah, no, I guess so. Let me ask you a question. Was there any, and you sort of did a good job of keeping it, I guess, low key. And I don't know if I'm blowing this out of proportion, but like $11,000 is a lot of money, and for someone in 12th grade to win that amount of money, I would think now looking back on it that like there would have been more. Like people talking about it in high school or stuff like that. Like we sort of kept it within our poker crew where like it wasn't like a story in our grade where it's like, oh shit, Tommy just won $12,000 the other night. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think it was too, I don't know. I think I remember like some people like talking about it, but it wasn't anything crazy.
And so you didn't have any like resentment from not me, but like any resentment towards friends. Like, I mean, I'm still salty to this day because I feel like you didn't text us. But was there any resentment from people? Like, how did your did you tell your parents that you won that, or like, did anyone like feel some type of way with you winning that money? And like, so I don't know, treat you differently or?
No, I mean, I don't think $11,000 is like, you know, $1 million, you know?
Yeah, I know, but at 12th grade, it's like a very exciting story, like, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so to move away from the bad beat and the $11,000, from that, you sort of like spawned an online poker career, almost like you said, a professional poker, like that was your profession for a while. Like you went to Binghamton, but you were also playing online poker while you were in school. I remember you visiting me, and I told you this when you came to Chicago. I remember you visiting me at Cobleskill. You were sitting on my bed playing online poker, and like goes back to your personality. You sort of like smiled from like ear to ear. It was just like a quick grin, and I was like, "Yo, what just happened?" You're like, "Oh, I just won like $18,000 or something like that in a hand." And I was like, "What? Like on my fucking bed? Like just in a matter of 2 seconds?" And I don't know if you remember that or not.
I think I do. I don't think it was 18,000. Maybe it was like 10 or something.
Yeah, it was something still substantial.
Yeah, I think by that time I'd already been like playing. Well, my video's a little bit lagged.
Okay.
Can you see me? Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, I think the audio's fine though, right?
Yep, yeah.
Okay. I think by that time, like my freshman that was like freshman year or sophomore year.
Yeah, I think freshman or sophomore year.
I had already been like playing. I'd already been playing in games where like having $10,000, $20,000 winning days were like kind of frequent. So it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't that rare for me to like, you know, win $10,000 in like an hour or something.
So how did you juggle that in college? Because like you go to college with the idea of graduating to make a lot of money, but you're sitting in a class making $10,000 in a fucking hour or something, like you just said. How are you processing that as a fucking freshman or sophomore in college?
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, that's why I didn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really put any effort into studying.
Mm-hmm.
It really actually wasn't really until like my junior year when I had like a shit GPA that I was like, shit, let me try to like bring it to at least like a 3.0 so that, you know, I can go back to school if I need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I was a lot of times I would go to class and I would end up like logging on. I would end up in like a big lecture hall and just like playing online poker games, and I think the opportunity cost for me to like be there at the time was pretty high, so I ended up usually not going.
And then, so yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and then I just kind of like took kind of bullshit easy classes, and then when I graduated, I moved to Vegas.
And what was your mindset behind that? You were just like, I got my degree, and now let me see if I can really put this into like fucking full tilt and just make this a career and see how much money I can make.
Yeah. So I mean, like by the time I graduated, I had already won like a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up I met this guy through a friend who was like doing really, really well in online poker.
Mm-hmm.
I met him when I went to the series, to the World Series when I was 21 to play in a bunch of the events.
Yeah.
And then I met him there and we became friends. And then the next year, when I graduated, we ended up buying a house together in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then like pretty much what happened, right? I think I moved there in like February, and then in April of that, like 2 months later, online poker in the United States shut down.
Yeah.
So like once that happened, I was kind of like we kept playing. Probably played on like some other, like the few sites that you could still play on for like another year or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then like playing in the casinos. But yeah, I mean, I ended up, after online poker shut down, I was kind of like was just trying to figure out something else to do.
Yeah, and what was that like? Because Kyle talks about it a little bit, but it literally was just like one day you were playing online poker, and then George Bush signed something, and literally the next day, like you couldn't access your funds or anything on a site.
Yeah, it was basically they shut down the sites completely, so like all your money was frozen. I remember like when I first moved there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start to get serious.
Mm-hmm.
That month. I was like doing pretty well. I think I had won like $20,000 or something.
Wow.
For like the first like or two of the month, and I was like, okay, I'm like ready to take some bigger chances. Then it shuts down, and I think I had probably $150,000.
Wow.
Frozen.
Jeez.
So, and I think that kind of left like a sour taste in my mouth, and why I was kind of like, let me try to like do something else. I ended up getting them money when they like paid 3 years later or whatever.
Oh, really? So they worked something out. Oh, do you know what it was? Was there like a clause that said if you had money in your account, like you'd still get paid out?
I think what happened. This was with Full Tilt. Poker Stars ended up buying Full Tilt.
Okay.
And assuming their debts basically. So it was kind of fortunate, because if Poker Stars never did that, then I would have never gotten paid.
Yeah, I would think like if some shit happened like that and I'm Full Tilt, I'll just be like, sorry guys, like it's not our doing, but you're asked out of your money, and it's almost just like.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what they did. I think the reason why it was saved was because like at the time people really respected the Full Tilt software, and it just had like a reputation for being like a good poker site, like I guess from like a technical perspective. So that was kind of, I guess Poker Stars just assumed that the brand still had value.
Yeah. So just a little bit more upon, like, to touch upon Vegas. When that happened, what's the difference? And I know this from playing poker, and I'm not great at reading people, but is there a big difference in playing live with people than online? I mean, are you still just as good in person as you are behind the computer screen?
No, I mean, I think like to be good online, and especially much more true now. Like nowadays, I haven't played really in like over 5 years. So
wait, say that again. You broke up. You haven't played what?
I said I haven't played poker competitively for like over 5 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I still play like here and there.
Yeah.
In really in like live games, but like to back then and like much more so now to really do well online, you have to have much better like game theory understanding of like the math and the statistics, and even now a lot of like No Limit Hold'em, a lot of it is solved with algorithms. So
really,
you have to like really be So I mean I think online poker is gonna struggle to. I don't think it'll ever come back for that reason. At least at the high stakes, like people are using like software.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I feel like as technology advances, like it's only a matter of time before there's bots or some type of robot shit that like can whatever.
Yeah, there's bots now that. I mean, I haven't really looked into it in a while, but I know they have bots that have beaten like the top players.
Yeah,
and so I think that's not good for online poker. But
no, definitely not. Do you have any crazy poker stories that you can share? I mean, like I'm fascinated by some. Like, have you played with any celebrities and beaten them out of a pot that you can remember, or something that makes you laugh? Like, man, this guy was so cocky and confident and wanted to punch me after I cracked him, or something like that. Anything that's just like a funny story.
Yeah, I have a funny story. I don't remember when this was. It was probably while I was still in college. Mm-hmm. I went to Bahamas to play in a poker tournament, and it was in one of the cash games, and Nelly was in the game.
Really?
And yeah, and it was like and there was like this other European kid, and the game was kind of like forming around Nelly because obviously he's rich and can like lose a lot of money. And there's like a couple other like kids like me who lived there were like coming up online, and then maybe like a few other like older people. And this kid is like this European kid who's probably like around my age, and he wins. Like Nelly does like some retarded play, and the kid wins like a couple $1,000, like $5,000 from him. He like takes the money. He's like, "Oh, I finally got my money back from that CD I bought 10 years ago."
Did he laugh? Did he have a good was he laughing?
No. Like he said it when Nelly was like already pissed off at losing the hand. So Nelly just like looks at him and is just like, "I wish I could punch you in the face right now."
Are you serious?
And he just like he stares at the kid and just like walks off with his like entourage.
Oh.
And like is done for the night. The rest of the night, everyone else at the table was like, "Man, you just like ruined the fucking game."
That's so funny. It's so crazy how like to Nelly, that was probably just like he probably doesn't even remember that, or like that was nothing to him, like $5,000. What is that? Like, who knows? Maybe if you asked him, he would say, "Yeah, I remember that," or whatnot. But I doubt he would. The fact that like that kid has a crazy memory from it, like you told that story, is funny as shit because like it's funny. I have a story like I was playing blackjack in Vegas. And I was at a blackjack table. It was two people at the table. I was on the end seat, and there was a person probably in like the number 2 spot. And DJ Khaled comes up, and he bets $500, loses, puts $1,000 down the next hand, gets a blackjack, wins, takes the money, and gives it to his boy behind him, and just bounces. And I was in such shock, and I like looked when he bet the first time. I was like, "Oh fuck, that's DJ Khaled." And then he bet again, hit the blackjack, and then left. And then I said to the dude who was at the table, I was like, "Yo, that was DJ Khaled. Like, that's fucking crazy." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know who he is." It was like before he really blew up.
Oh, really? Wait, was it crazy that he like got up and left? That he was betting like a lot and just left after one hand, or that it was DJ Khaled?
I think that it was DJ Khaled and both. Yeah, that he just like he lost. He bet the whole just. The fact that it happened so fast and the fact that I remember it so vividly, but the fact to him is just like he's just walking around the casino putting $1,000 bets on the tables, and like he's making lifetime memories for people like me and like maybe the dealer, but to him is like Nelly doesn't know, but that kid's probably telling that story to everybody now. You know, like, oh yeah, I beat Nelly out of a pot and told him I fucking kid like finally got my money back for his CDs. I don't know. It's just crazy to me that like I love hearing stories of like people playing with celebrities or like, you know, like I think you must have played with some poker celebrities and won hands off of them or something, you know, and it's just like you got to get a little bit of a rush.
Yeah. No, I mean I think I played with like a lot of most of like the big names at some point.
Like Phil Hellmuth or anything, or Ivy?
I think Phil Hellmuth, not Phil Ivey. But okay. It was just kind of like we were at the same tournament table.
Yeah.
For, and it might have just been for like an hour or two, but it wasn't
anything significant.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I played with like most of those guys, not like on just kind of like they happened to be in the same tournament.
Yeah. So just staying on Vegas for like this quick note, like, did you ever feel like Vegas got too big for you? Like, were you doing other stuff outside of playing poker that you were like, hold on, like I came here to play poker. I don't want to lose all my money going to the club or doing drinking or something like that. Because Vegas is overwhelming, and I've lost a lot of money there, and I've won a lot of money and given it back. I can't imagine living there.
No, I was always like pretty like strict about what I was doing. Maybe not. I mean, I think I remember the first time that my friend that I bought the house with had more success online than I had, and so I was like kind of trying to keep up with him. I remember like we first got there, the first like 2 weeks we were there, we literally just like went out like 12 out of 14 nights and got like bottle service.
Jesus.
So I think besides that though, I was like careful. I never really like if I gambled in the casino games, it was only because like firstly I would just go with like $100 and like if I was like $100 then I'll stop, or like if a friend was in town and like wanted to play.
Yeah.
But I didn't like. And then, like, I mean, besides that first 2 weeks, I mean, we still partied a lot. We were like 22, 23.
Yeah.
But we didn't, but it was just like on the weekends. And it wasn't like, I don't know, we weren't like, getting into like too much trouble.
And now, were you always, throughout this whole journey, were you always conscious of the money? Were you conscious, because you are playing, you're gambling, so you could lose a lot of money or you could win a lot of money. Are you conscious of like your bank account and how much you have, and like, do you have a goal of what you're trying to hit, or if you get too low, do you stop? Are you conscious of how much money you're gambling with or potentially losing or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you try to just play well and not focus on the money.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when I'd have a bad run and like lose a lot of money, then like I'd definitely feel it and be like, all right, let me like take the next day off and like try to figure out what I was doing. What I was doing wrong. If sometimes you're doing everything right and you just lose a lot. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So I tried to be like pretty rational about it.
Is it stressful? Like, did you feel stressed all the time?
Yeah, when you're winning, you feel like you're the man.
Yeah.
And then when you're losing, you feel like shit.
Yeah. So can you compare it to like you were doing a job, like was it fun? Like, would you, looking back on it, because now that you said you've been away from competitive poker for 5 years, looking back on it, I mean, obviously you won a good amount of money, but are you grateful for that time that you lived in Vegas and gambled and, all that stuff that you did?
Yeah, no, I'm grateful. Like sometimes I try to, I wonder like, if I would have like been focused on school and, because like right now I'm like basically resetting my career again. Yeah. It's kind of like, now I'm kind of like, like maybe had I been like focused on school at the time, I'd be like in a different position now. But I think that overall it was like a good experience. I got to like travel the world pretty much.
Yeah.
I still have a good amount of money saved from it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't really complain. I think I was like fortunate that I had success in it early on. But.
And this is something, and this is one of the questions that I had written down on the the notes that I sent you over. So hopefully you thought about it. And this is a good like debate that people always have. But when I saw you in high school with a lot of money, when I saw you moving to Vegas to live in a house and gamble in Vegas, I always just assumed that you'd be like the happiest motherfucker in the world. Like you could buy anything you wanted at any time. I remember, I think with an ex-girlfriend, you like her laptop was broken or something like that, and you just bought like a new iMac the next day or something like that. Like just not having a care of money. Like were you like, can money buy happiness?
Yeah. So no, I did think about that. I actually I've read like a couple books about it,
mm-hmm.
and I think I would agree with like the consensus of one of the books is that the people that say like it doesn't matter at all, I don't think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think one of the books read it like it matters like 10%.
That's
so
it.
It's pretty small because it's like people. Like studies of like lottery winners,
yep.
Most of those people end up like pretty miserable.
Yep.
They don't know what to do with the money. They end up getting taken advantage of and having like poor relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think like, yeah, if everything else in your life is terrible, then like having a lot of money isn't going to like sway, there's plenty of like people who are super wealthy that are like, depressed or, just like miserable. They're in like shitty relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like if everything else in your life is like bad, then that's more important than like having
all the money in the world. Yeah.
But that said, I think like it does like it helps you to have experiences, like a little bit less anxiety over like if you're a person who's living with like a lot of financial anxiety over like whether or not you're going to be able to pay your rent next week, like it's like a shitty situation. But, yeah
I think it's two things. I think with a lot of money you have a lot more opportunity to, like you said, travel and like experience more things, which can in turn make you a happier person because you see poverty, you see different types of people, and so you're more educated on problems bigger than what you think you had,
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, I think someone like you, as opposed to your parents having a lot of money and you just having a lot of money, you appreciated it probably a little bit more because you didn't get a lot of money until you were in 12th grade potentially or were in college. So you worked hard, doing delivery jobs and whatever other jobs you had as a kid. So you understood money a little bit better. So now that you had it, you appreciate it more, which, is not, you're not depressed because you have it because you worked hard for it, I don't know if that makes any sense.
I guess I was talking like, even people who like made their own money, like a lot of people end up getting, depressed anyway. I was just saying, I was giving that example just to show that like, money, I think people think that it has a much more profound effect on their well-being than it actually does.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to think like, oh, well, if only I had this, then I'd be happy. But like most of the studies on it show that like people, basically regardless of your circumstances, you tend to revert to whatever your psychological baseline is. So like you weren't a happy person, before you won it. Like after a year or two of like having money, you're gonna go back to not being happy. So
good point.
I think people definitely tend to overestimate the effect that that money has on their happiness.
Yeah,
and it's much more relative. People would much rather prefer to have like more money than their neighbor than an absolute number, if that makes sense.
They'd rather have more money than their neighbor than an absolute. So they just want to have, like, it's more of a status thing.
Yeah, I think it's more of a status thing, especially now because like most people's basic needs are met.
Yeah.
But I think there was like, I think in one of the books it was saying how like people would rather make like 70,000 a year when all their like friends were making 50,000 than to make like 100,000 when all their friends were making 150.
Yeah. No, it's
it's more like a status, like.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and you make a great point. It's just like we have everything we need. It's like, at what point do you need like 4 pairs of sneakers? You know, like, why do I go out and buy a new pair of Nikes when I have 3 other pairs of them? You know, it's just like, what's the reason behind that? You know, like, it's like I should be saving my money and not, but it's just like, I don't know, I saw another kid with Nikes, so now I got to have Nikes too. Like, it's fucked up, and I don't know if that's like just society or like who we are as people, where we're always just competing against each other.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's something like with you, I don't think I've never seen you really be too, like, I don't know, I've never seen you like competitive outside of a poker table, but I don't think you ever compared yourself to anybody else, or, you know, like, you were never a follower. You would wear your Jordan flip-flops, no socks, and just like a pair of like basketball shorts and like a t-shirt, you know, and that was your swag. Like, you never really made it a point to, you know, do what everybody else was doing.
Yeah, although I think I am a little bit better dressed these days.
Okay, well, yeah, because you had no swag back in the day.
I had zero. I put like zero effort into it.
So. Yeah, and that's what made you who you are, and that's what I was trying to get you to describe in the beginning.
Yeah. No, I would try to not to, like, you know, like, even though like I could afford it, like, I wouldn't, even after I had like money to buy, like, I don't know, nice clothes and things, I really didn't.
Yeah, no, and that's what I appreciated about you, is like you won all that money, and again, to me, $11,000 in 12th grade is a lot of money. You never came into school the next day like I would have, probably with fucking like pinstripe suit on just for the fuck of it, because like I had won all that money. Maybe I wouldn't have wore a pinstripe shoe, but I definitely would have had some new Jordans on. And that's just me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still try to do this. I try to like, I try to live. I mean, there's a quote in Fight Club that I like. Something that's like, eventually, if you own all this, I don't remember the exact quote. It's like, if you own all this stuff, your stuff ends up owning you.
Yeah, that's a good ass quote.
So yeah, I mean, I try not to like get too attached to material things, and yeah, I mean, I think even like, if I'm considering buying a house, like, I wouldn't want to buy like a super big house, you know?
Yeah, something that I respect that, because you see a lot of times like like just a couple will buy a 7-bedroom house with 4 bed, and it's just like, why not just get like a nice apartment, like a loft on top of something that's still as beautiful. You got a doorman, and it's reasonable.
Yeah, no, I like I guess the minimalist philosophy.
Yep.
But I mean, I still have a bunch of shit, so I can't really say that I'm like a minimalist. But
yeah, but everybody does. I want to sort of round it out after your. Are you good on time? Like, probably, I don't know, just a couple more questions I wanted to ask you. So like,
sure.
So after poker, what was your next step? I know you said like let's take it to now, like where you're doing your MBA, but what's your path now after everything you've done previously? And how does winning all that money now affect you in your next profession?
Yeah, so after after poker, I wanted to become a psychiatrist. And I was kind of like looking at the med school requirements. I was like, shit, I don't want to go to med school for 8 years.
Yeah.
So they had this. They have the track called the psychiatric nurse practitioner track.
Mm-hmm.
I was planning on doing that. I completed like the nursing portion, and then I was working like as a mental health nurse in a hospital for probably about 2 years. So I went back to school for that degree, and with like planning on finishing the doctorate program in psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of got like the more I learned about it, I was kind of got disillusioned with the whole field, and I didn't really agree with the way that medications are prescribed. So it's kind of like for probably like the last for like a year, I was kind of like at a loss for what to do. So I was just kind of like, I guess I've done like other kind of entrepreneurial things on the side, like real estate rentals. I got caught up in the cryptocurrency boom.
I could have told you to stay away from that one, man. Well, because our friend doesn't your friend Travis, isn't he heavily involved in that? Did he have any influence in what you were doing?
No.
Okay.
I think I was in that. It was actually. I did really well in it.
Oh,
because, okay. I have a friend. You know Alan Johnson, right?
Yeah.
He like put me onto it like before people knew about it.
Okay.
So
this is Bitcoin?
Yeah, and a bunch of other cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
And it was mostly Alan that put me onto it. Then like last year I applied to business schools, or I started to study for the test to get in, which is a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then I applied like, almost a year ago. I'm going to most likely go to University of North Carolina in July. But actually I'm still, I'm on the wait list at NYU, so I might go there if I get off.
And what professions are come from that?
Yeah, so I'm still not, I think I'm aiming to get into healthcare consulting.
Okay.
I was doing a little bit with a friend, like at a company that we started,
mm-hmm.
but it was kind of hard to like get exposed to good projects because we didn't really have much experience.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna try to do most likely is like get in with a bigger company
So you wanted to get away from healthcare, but you're going to go back to the big fucking pharmaceutical healthcare companies?
Oh, well, I probably won't. No, I probably won't go into pharmaceutical. I'd probably, and I've been taking like engineering classes for the last year. Like, so I'm probably going to try to transition to healthcare tech.
Nice.
Or even just some tech role.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be a perfect fit for you. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And does it ever, like, I keep going back to the poker thing, but like, do you think you'll ever be doing your job and you're just like, damn, man, like I'm making this in a year when I could have made that in a month?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I'll always have that until like anytime whatever job I'm working at starts to suck, I'll be like, fuck.
Yeah.
Why did I like give up? Because I think even though I think I could have like made it, I think I should have continued and like gone full blast for like the next 2 or 3 years and like tried to make a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I do kind of regret that, but I think whenever it's kind of a curse actually, because it's like it lowers your resilience to hardships, right?
100%.
So like if I'm just like doing something, like I worked as a mental health nurse at the hospital, and like whenever the day was hard, I would be like, why the fuck am I doing this?
But on the flip side, that could almost make you like that much mentally stronger, as if like it's like, here's this fucking curveball, here's the money, and you're just like, no, I'm gonna go higher than that and be on some next level higher shit and do my job to the best that I'm doing it, you know? If you look at it that way.
I mean, that was like what I was like hoping I would go for, but I mean I'd be lying if couldn't tell you that like a lot of days I'd just come home and be like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, no, I hear that. It's tough, man. It's like there's always a mental battle going on inside our heads, and
it's always like the grass is greener, whatever path you didn't take. I'm sure like had I stayed like in poker, and even had I like won a bunch of money, then I would have like still had like the feeling that like why am I doing this, you know?
Yeah.
Which is actually what started to happen to me at the end anyway. I was kind of like not enjoying it as much, and was like, you know?
Yeah, and who's to say that maybe in those 2 years where you thought you were going to just blow it out the bank, you gave it all back, you know? Like maybe you got out at the right time. Like, you know, it could have been a blessing that you got out at that time. And now this is your next calling. I still told you, and I told you this in Chicago, I thought like, and I think you should write a book or something like that, man, because I think your story is interesting, and like I think there's a lot of like wannabes out there, and every kid who maybe listens, or like kids that we know, is like, oh, I've got a friend who won a lot of money playing poker. But I think your story is interesting, because I think you had something happened in the beginning, was sort of like that boom, which is a bad beat, although you had been winning some money online before then. Like the fact that you still went to college and were like playing online in college and class and doing all that stuff, and then moving out to Vegas and now transitioning into a new part of your life is like there's a whole roller coaster there. It's not like just some book where you're just like, hi, I'm Tommy, I'm from New Rochelle and I played poker. Like there's movement on that shit. There's ups and downs, you know?
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, definitely. So to close it up, what's the, I don't know if you even know, but what's the plan? How long do you see yourself in Brazil for? Is it just going to be, are you just going to walk out on that girl one day? Like what's the next move?
Well, I'm going back to New York the 20th.
Okay.
Of this month. And then the program in North Carolina starts like early July. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, move all my shit down there, assuming I don't hear back from NYU. Mm-hmm. But I kind of want to get out. I mean, I was living in New York City the last like 3 years anyway, and I kind of want a change. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think like getting outside of New York is the biggest like positive in my life, and I tell that to everybody. Is like just getting out of New York is, obviously it's nice. My brother's got a house there, which is awesome. He's got a family, but like I think he's lived other places. For people that haven't been out of New York, need to experience somewhere outside of New York, and then if they want to go back, then that's fine.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I mean that's all. Is there anything else that you want to like touch upon? You think I know you were a little nervous in the beginning. I'm always nervous before I get on air, but you think this shit went okay?
Yeah, no, I respect what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
You're trying to get like the was Kyle's podcast like an influence for you?
So that's where I'm stuck at right now, and I'll be brutally honest, is like I was doing the Kyle and Corin podcast with Kyle on Tuesdays, which was like successful. There's like 15 to like sometimes 30,000 people who watch it, and people would always put comments like, Corin, start your own channel, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do on my channel. So like I called it Corin's World, like spin off of Bobby's World type of shit, and I was like, I'll just do everything, like. And I had an idea that like Fridays I was going to talk to someone, because I feel like I know a good amount of people that are interesting, whether it's like family members or friends. And from that, Molly started getting enjoyment out of like editing the videos, and it gives her something to do, which is fun for her, and it like helps our relationship, because now on Tuesdays we do a Molly's Mind, and we'll talk about a topic that we're discussing in our household. Mm-hmm. And I'm sort of starting to come around to like, in the beginning I was just like, am I just doing this to do it because like I could get a lot of followers right off the beginning? But now it's cool. Like I really enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate you, sitting down for an hour and a half and talking. Like you didn't have to do this,
Yeah, no, I respect like obviously like we're friends, and I respect, like, I guess it's like the entrepreneurial hustle.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and it's like, again, I don't know what's gonna come from this. I don't know if it's whatever, fame or money or whatnot. But right now, my wife's happy. I enjoy talking to people,
awesome.
And we'll see where it goes. You know, like, and Kyle's obviously a big influence because he's got such a successful channel. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
But I wish you the best in Brazil, man. I hope the end of your trip is awesome and you continue to like go awesome places. I'm always following you on Instagram and shit, man. I mean, like, you sort of keep it low key, but when you do post, I'm excited to see it.
Really? Yeah, I've had people ask for more posts because I'm not like big into social media. But
yeah, no, I mean, I don't give a shit how much you post, but I like when you post because then it's just like I remember that you're there as opposed to like you just not posting at all, and it's like, oh shit, Tommy's in fucking Brazil. So now I say to Kyle, like, yo, Tommy's in Brazil. He's doing well, man. He's like, oh fuck, that's awesome. And then that's that.
Yeah. Cool, man.
But yeah, Tommy, thank you, dude. This was fun.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Hopefully I see you in New York or we meet up in person sometime soon.
Yeah, we'll meet soon.
All right.
For sure.
Take care, brother.
Peace.
All right, later.